How's it going, everybody? So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about my year that I was a vegan and some of the side effects that I had gotten from plant foods and the main reasons why I had to stop with the vegan diet in the first place. Okay, so first of all, like a summary for those of you with a short attention span. I had psoriasis, irritable bowel syndrome, and a whole host of other issues, including mental fog and anxiety and insomnia. And I didn't realize it, but they were all caused by all the fiber and whole grains I was adding to my diet. I had started adding these foods to my diet long before I became vegan. So at the beginning of 2014, I had really started to have a fascination with whole grains and the health benefits associated with them. And so I was stocking up on black rice and beans and all sorts of things. So this is at the beginning of 2014, about 6 months before I started being vegan. Then I said, well, screw it. These foods are so good for me. And I think I think it was Forks Over Knives. And I was like, why don't I just base my entire diet on these plant foods? Because they're the healthiest thing ever. And apparently animal foods are deficient in nutrients. They don't have any nutrients in them, no antioxidants, or so I thought at the time. And so I went vegan in the middle of 2014. And, that whole time, like, ever since I added in the black rice and the amaranth, the millet and the even brown rice and all of that stuff, the more of those foods that I consumed, the worse my psoriasis got. I had gigantic red blotches all over my body. It was horrible. I thought it was some type of soap I was using or something. I thought I had a skin infection. I thought all sorts of things. I went to several doctors. They gave me creams. I thought that I had scabies at one point in time. It was horrible. I was going crazy. So anyway, I went vegan really as an attempt to heal myself because I thought I got a parasite or something crazy. And so for that entire year, I had this problem, and I noticed the more plant foods I ate, the more plant foods I started to see in the toilet. I actually, certain foods like tomatoes and even greens like spinach and whatnot, like I would start seeing them in the toilet. All of the whole grains I was eating, I would start seeing them in the toilet. And this got really bad, like when I went vegan, because all I was eating were these foods. So veganism helped me realize it was these foods that were causing my psoriasis, and it was these foods that were causing my intestinal issues, the bloating and the pain and the seeing a salad in the toilet bowl after I was done. It was terrible. And I had taken all the supplements recommended by the top vegan doctors at the time, but I wasn't one of these crazy quacks doing like vegan raw vegan diets or juice cleanses and whatnot. I was doing it all by the book. I was very fascinated by nutrientfacts.org and Michael Greger and his his videos and whatnot. And so like I want to do everything right. But despite the fact that I was taking all the supplements and I was eating a whole foods plant-based diet with chia seeds and goji berries, I was the goji man long before goji man got on YouTube. I was very fascinated with herbalism and herbal tonics, which I still am to this day, making goji berry tea and then trying to eat the goji berries afterwards. So it turns out that I had an intolerance to mainly just whole grains, beans, these cereal seeds, these cereal grains, like wheat, rice, beans, pretty much any complex grain food that you could think of. I could not digest. I tried making it into a porridge. I tried chewing for longer than longer than a minute. I tried taking enzyme supplements, probiotics, sprouting, soaking. I tried to deactivate using an oven or something crazy like that someone recommended. I was really excited about, the benefits of these foods. And so I wanted to make it work. From the middle of 2014 until the middle of 2015, I tried hard. And even after I quit veganism, I still would have random inspirations to try to be able to eat these whole grains. I tried getting the easy cook brown rice. I tried parboiled. Turns out the only grain I could consume was jasmine rice, like white rice, basically. And so what that made me realize is it seems like it's the outer shell of these foods that are just very tough to digest, even if you cook them to oblivion. And I'd asked for help on all these vegan boards and whatnot, message boards and YouTube videos. I asked Vegan Gains even, and Vegan Gains said the same thing everyone else did. Have you tried soaking and sprouting them? Have you tried, maybe you need to cook them longer? Have you tried enzymes or probiotics? And no one had an answer for me, I had tried a parasite cleanse though, earlier on in my vegan journey to try to, because I thought, I tried everything else, the enzymes and everything, maybe I have a parasite. And it didn't work. That was probably not the best idea, really. Even though it wasn't a crazy cleanse. But regardless, and it was basically wormwood, black walnut hull, and clove tincture, which is a standard treatment for, any kind of parasite. So eventually I had to submit to the fact that my body just could not digest grains. And I was with a girl, I was dating a girl at the time who was transitioning into veganism as well. And she started to see meat as disgusting. And I remember seeing all these people around me that were eating meat and thinking how asleep they were. How could they do this to themselves? They don't even realize what they're eating. I was under the impression that it was unnatural. I legitimately thought that we were gorillas. And it just really, I had a warped perception of reality. It was really crazy. I thought that we were gorillas and that fruit was our natural diet. And then John McDougall said that we're starchitarians. I don't know how you can come to that conclusion, considering these starches. There's little evidence that shows we might have been eating a legume 40,000 years ago. But even that, you have to ask under what context. So it warped my perception, And the girl I was with, it warped her perception. And then I remember I was like, all right, I'm gonna, when I was finally ready to recover, I said, you know what? I know what I need to do, because I was studying nutrition and I was looking at everything. I wanted to heal. And so, I realized, I wasn't, see, the thing is, if I can't eat whole grains and these types of foods, how am I going to sustain veganism? At the time, potatoes wouldn't even work for me at the time. I had no source of calories other than fruit. Even nuts and seeds I couldn't digest. I tried a hemp protein powder. And mind you, I was doing heavy powerlifting at the time too. But only once, only for a week. And then I'd take a long break. It was crazy. I tried different plant proteins. I shat them out. It was retarded. And I'm not even exaggerating. Like my stool would be visibly powdery. It was insane. I couldn't digest these plant foods to save my life. Other than like fruits, I could. But some people say, "Well, just be a fruitarian." I'm not gonna become a fruitarian. Like, have you seen like even the like vegan gains and the regular mainstream science-based vegans? They condemn raw veganism because they see what it does. It's like a big part of an eating disorder, generally speaking. And most of the people that have these problems and nutrient deficiencies as vegans, they're raw vegans. So I'm not going to sit here and shit on all vegans, okay, saying that the diet in general is bad. Like, I think for a large majority of people, it's not going to work, even if they do grains and whatnot. Anyway, so eventually I realized I needed to try the paleo diet because, well, damn, I could eat raw greens at the time. I could eat bananas and these other fruits, and and red meat I never had a problem with. So I said, screw it. I'm gonna just go on a straight paleo diet where I'm just eating the easiest foods I can digest. So my diet became very simple. And mind you, at the time, I was under the impression that we needed all these like plant foods and all these different foods in order to function and survive. I thought I needed a wide variety of foods. So I was very scared to just eat meat, vegetables, and fruit because I was like, damn, well, where am I going to get all these other nutrients? At the time, I didn't actually study nutrient databases like I do now. I didn't know that you can get all of your vitamins and minerals from animal foods alone, let alone animal foods, fruits, and vegetables. And Lauren Cordain in his paleo diet book, which by the way I don't follow, I'm just saying, he actually outlined a whole day of eating where you can actually get all your vitamins and minerals from fruits, vegetables, and meat. So anyway, I remember I was going to the grocery store with the girl that I was dating, and at the time she was willful. She was like buying me whatever, all my food and whatnot, like willingly. And I remember we were at the store. It's because I was staying with her. Like, she let me, like, and it was a weird thing because I had my own condo, my own house, and I had all my own money and whatnot. But anyway, she wanted to take care of me, so fuck it. So we went to the grocery store and we were picking out food. She's like, all right, just pick out whatever foods you want to eat. And I was like, all right, cool. So I remember getting like a bunch of steaks or whatever. And I was like, all right, I'm going to eat these. And she's like, ew, like you're going to start eating meat again? I was like, yeah, because I can't digest these grains. Like, what do you want me to do? Just starve to death? And my muscle mass was deteriorating. My brain was deteriorating. I felt horrible that entire time. And this meat could have been the savior I was looking for. Like, the calories my body's been craving for so long. And she's like, well, I'm not going to buy that for you. If you want to eat it, that's fine. You can't keep it in my refrigerator. I was like, holy crap, are you serious? So eventually I convinced her to get the meat for me, since I left my wallet in my car, since, she told me I didn't need it or whatever. She's going to buy me whatever. Anyway, yeah, I know. Most people wouldn't understand. I don't understand, honestly. All I know is I convinced her to get me the steaks. And then we went back to her house or whatever, and I cooked myself a steak, and I ate the greens and the bananas. And holy crap, I was feeling good all of a sudden. And I did start with like a 4-ounce steak. And so, man, this chair is making all sorts of weird noises. Believe me, it was the chair. Okay, I know. Getting off subject here, right? Alright, anyway. Fucking, yeah, so I ate the damn steak, and I felt great, and from that point on, it was like it was June of 2015. I said, you know what, this is what I need to do. And I knew it all along. And so I just stuck to, meat, mainly red meat, and then whole chickens. Sometimes I'd make in a crock pot with bone broth. Fruits and vegetables. And I got lean, I got ripped, I started gaining muscle again. My mind started to recollect itself. I started to feel healthy. I had more energy. I left that girl. Technically we weren't together. She was just my sugar mama. So I told her we can't see each other anymore. She was annoying me, and I just started eating meat, and I don't remember, I think she just started eating junk. She went back to eating tacos and whatnot, and she who cares about what happened to her? Let's just say, I'll tell you, her life completely fell apart. But that's beside the point. My life came back together thanks to this paleo diet, right? And now generally I'll call it the autoimmune paleo diet, but really it was just a paleo diet where I removed the foods that weren't working for me. I didn't eat nuts and seeds because I couldn't digest those foods for whatever reason. Eventually I noticed I could digest the flesh of tubers like potatoes and carrots, as long as I didn't eat the skin. And the first couple days I would shit them out, but eventually my body would adapt. Now grains, I would eat them consistently and my body wouldn't adapt. And the consequences of eating grains were very bad for me. Like, first of all, my stomach would bloat up. I would shit them out within like 12 hours of consumption. During that time when those grains are in my stomach, I couldn't sleep. A lot of them would cause extreme gas and flatulence because of the bacterial fermentation, obviously. A lot of vegans say meat rots in your intestines, when that's not true at all. Meat is entirely digested by stomach acid, which is why people with intestinal disorders can go on a all-meat diet and feel better. People with colitis can heal, Crohn's disease can heal, because they're not utilizing their intestines to digest the meat. But when it comes to grains, it's entirely digested by bacteria in your intestines, which can cause a lot of problems for many people. So I started feeling great, and that was June 2015. I kept on with the paleo diet until November of 2015, and then I tried a ketogenic diet from November to mid-December, and that wasn't long enough for me to figure it out. I was feeling good at first, but then I felt kind of bad. I wasn't doing it properly. I wasn't tracking my food intake, wasn't tracking macros or micros, wasn't taking the proper mineral supplements. I didn't research it enough, and then I just kind of wrote it off as bullshit, saying it made me feel bad, and I joined the train of all these other people claiming it raises cortisol. And then I kind of just started experimenting again, trying in, different exotic foods, mushrooms and things. To be honest, to this day, the diet that works the best for me is essentially pretty much anything that's on the Primal Blueprint by Mark Sisson. And again, I'm not really following that diet per se, but basically, cheese doesn't seem to give me problems. At one point I thought it was, though. White rice is the only grain I can really consume. I could eat tubers, but, they can cause me some issues. Fruits, leafy green vegetables and whatnot, I don't seem to have a problem with. Some vegetables like bell peppers and whatnot, I do have problems with. Obviously, pretty much any animal product I can do fine with. Any kind of animal flesh, I'm fine with. Eggs, I'm fine with. So, anytime I try to eat these harder to digest plant foods, it causes me problems. So, severe problems, can't sleep for days unless I remove these from my diet type of problems. Is pretty bad. So, I mean, as far as veganism is concerned, I would say plant foods were very bad for me. It caused me all sorts of problems, and it wasn't until I realized that it was these plant foods I started to feel better. So of course, in December, so approximately 6 months, 6 months ago, I tried like a carnivore style diet. It was an experiment for 30 days, and I noticed drastic improvements in all areas of my health. I could sleep 4 hours, hit max lifts at the gym, it felt great. I started gaining strength at a crazy rate. Mental clarity went through the roof, productivity went through the roof, all sorts of great things. But I noticed, plant foods don't really seem to cause me too many issues. I think the ketogenic diet, which is something I've been doing over the last 6 months since I've been doing it right, has been, a godsend. Of course, weight loss is easy. I got abs for the first time in my life. Well, not the first time. When I ditched veganism for the paleo diet, I had abs at that time. But removing the white rice, I noticed, creates abs and creates amazing results. So anyway, my conclusion is that plant foods, they tend to be pretty hard to digest for many different types of people. When I started to look at these ex-vegans or whatever, I started to see that it's actually pretty common for people to have problems digesting grains and whatnot. And I've been looking at the vegan. Anytime I meet a vegan, I look at them and try to see commonalities. Typically, acne is a big issue. Typically, they're really skinny looking, generally on the verge of sickly. Almost always, they have this anxious aura about them, where they're just their brain is just in constant chaos. Or they have no energy at all, and they're kind of super depressed. Typically, they seem to have severe hormonal imbalances, and this is not meant to be offensive at all, but I just notice a large majority of men tend to become more feminine as the years go along, and their preferences in partners seem to change. And there seems to be a big tie between feminism and LBGT or whatever, and these types of social justice warriors that promote somewhat warped ideologies. They tend to be part of this vegan group. Not saying that they are the same, because they're not. I'm not saying this is true for everyone, but it's just something I noticed. I noticed that many people with eating disorders tend to go towards veganism. And this is a big thing that I notice is it's crazy. People that I used to know back 10 years ago that had eating disorders, they struggle with anorexia, they always felt they are fat even though they were super skinny, mainly girls that I knew or I dated, and they had eating disorders. They're vegan now, and also they're lesbians, and all sorts of things happen. I'm not saying that that's crazy. I don't really care. I don't think it's a bad thing. I'm not judging anybody for their preferences in that regard, but it's something I observed, though, that there's a correlation between veganism and these disorders, these eating disorders, and symptoms of hormonal changes. Okay, so again, my conclusion is that plant foods tend to be problematic for a lot of people. I think that there's a variance in tolerance between different people. I think that some people can handle more carbohydrates than others. I think different types of carbohydrates tend to have different effects for different people. And Rob Wolf is somebody who talks a lot about this. Not that he's a PhD or anything, but his mentor Lauren Cordain is, and Rob Wolf is a biochemist, researcher. I think maybe veganism can work for a lot of people. I don't think it's optimal, though. I think if you're doing it for morality reasons, again, me, I still don't think it's a good idea. what good is an activist that is in poor health? I don't think they're going to be functioning at their fullest capacity. You know, the Okinawans were not actually vegans or even like largely plant-based. They were only forced to do that during a food famine in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. They were forced to be in a caloric restriction due to the wars and a shortage of food. They live on a damn island. It's kind of ridiculous to think they didn't eat a diet that was centered around fish. Their primary calorie source was from monounsaturated fats, from pork fat that they cooked in. They cooked all their vegetables in. The Japanese and Chinese have the largest consumption of fish and eggs in the world, and they tend to be in better health than the rest of the world. They also eat the most white rice, and they're still in good health. So I'm done with this biased nonsense. I don't think you have to be a ketogenic person to like live a long life, and I don't think you should be vegan to live a long life. I think if you have problems with certain foods, remove them. That's kind of what I did. I don't think you need whole grains to live at all. I know you don't, actually. I don't think you need them to thrive. The only people that live on a diet solely based on animal foods tend to die when they're in their 70s or 80s of natural causes, typically, or of car accidents like Alistair the Bear Stanley. I think that there's some plants out there that have some type of nutrients, some type of compounds. Doesn't matter if it's resveratrol or these saponins like ginseng, but I think that there's compounds in plant foods that for some reason extend the human lifespan, and I think that that's the reason why a lot of these centenarians live to be as long as they do. I think that there's certain compounds that we haven't identified yet that extend the lifespan. I think the natural human lifespan is probably around 70 or 80, and people who eat just the basic building blocks of the human biology, like red meat, I think that's why they tend to die around 70 or 80. And I think these plant foods can be beneficial as long as you're not sacrificing your short-term health. I don't think it's worth it to try to force yourself to eat these so-called healthy foods when they're clearly causing problems in the short term. And so people who eat red meat and don't eat anything else, don't eat any plant foods, they eat the carnivore diet because this is the type of diet that removes their autoimmune issues. I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't think it's worth it to kill yourself. They have no reason to eat plants. But somebody who can eat plants, and they're just doing the carnivore diet because it's a trend, I think that they'd be better off if they added, some type of plant foods that can help them at least. Do they need them? No, I don't think so. But something like, goji berry tea or ashwagandha or like these tonic herbs, they could be beneficial. Most people don't realize the type of edge they can give. But anyway, I don't think plant foods are essential. I think they can be beneficial. I don't think you need them to survive. They can be problematic for many, many people. Some people be better off without them. So, yeah, it's not just black or white. So that's been my ex-vegan journey. Currently, I'm following a ketogenic diet, but I'm considering experimenting in a different direction. I do MMA and powerlifting, and so, my performance is very important to me, but so is my health, both long-term and short-term. So let me know what y'all think down below. Let me know your experiences, and I'll talk to y'all in the next video. Subscribe for more.